A very good afternoon from a place some people consider to be the most picturesque seaside town in Wales. You can see behind me it is definitely a contender. It has a seafront castle, a colourful harbour, a 15th century medieval wall, a plethora of small narrow streets and 3 incredible beaches. Unfortunately, we're not going to get much use out of those today. It is pretty stormy, but we are going to head down there, take a look, head up into the town, do a bit of exploring and see what we can find. Welcome to Tenby. We have made it down to the beach, and as I said in the intro there are actually 3 beaches in total here in Tenby. The North Beach, which is the one that I'm on currently, the South Beach, which is just to the south of this one, nice and easy so far, and then there is another beach tucked in between both of them called Castle Beach. We'll see them all in this video, but before we talk about Tenby itself, I wanted to give you a little bit of information on my morning because it has been a rainy one. That is why it is afternoon at the moment. I'm just starting the video now because I did hardly any filming this morning as I drove up the Pembrokeshire Coast, and I mentioned them because they all look like really nice places, even though I didn't see too much of them because of the weather. So first of all, there was Amroth, and to be honest, that place looked deserted, probably because of the rain. And I noticed as I drove along the seafront road, there were large rocks and stones, even boulders in places, washed up onto the road itself. So I'm guessing there's been some kind of torrential storm there in the last few days. There was also an old stone castle wall, which looked pretty interesting. But I left there and drove through Summerhill and then descended into a place called Wisemans Bridge, which was a lovely little cove. There were people out on the beach walking their dogs and enjoying the fresh air, even though the weather was still horrific. In fact, I saw a storm drain down on the beach, which had been forced open by the sheer volume of water coming out of it. But it was pretty cool to see it emptying out into the sea. And then the last place I stopped by was Saundersfoot, which seemed a lot busier. The car park was full, but there weren't many people on the beach, so I'm guessing they were all dining in restaurants. But there was a really cute harbour there. The tide was out and all the small fishing boats and tourist boats were just lying on the harbour floor. All of those places were just 3 or 4 miles north of Tenby, so it wasn't much fun for me watching all that scenery from inside the car. But if you get a nice day and you want to go outside of the town, then that's an area that's definitely worth checking out. And of course, this is Pembrokeshire and the area of outstanding natural beauty that I've heard so much about, so we'll be taking a look at that in the next video. But this is the gateway to that particular area of Wales, and I am looking forward to seeing more. So let's talk about Tenby. Population here of about 5,000 people. We know its history goes back as far as at least the 9th century because it was written about in a poem, and we also know that in the 12th century the Norman invasion conquered this area. However, about 100 years later it was won back by Welsh forces, and the first Earl of Pembroke, William de Valence, sanctioned the construction of a new fortified wall that would keep would-be invaders of the future away. I am walking towards the place where it is believed the town sprung to life, and that is Castle Hill, which has a ruined fort sitting proudly upon it. When I say I'm heading to the harbour, I literally mean into the harbour. That's where I am right now. I am standing here next to all these fishing boats, rescue boats, tourist boats. They are just resting on the seabed, and it's really interesting actually just taking a walk around. And when I'm ready, I'll probably just stroll up that way and walk out of the harbour via the beach. I think this is the entrance to the hilltop fort. Over there, I thought I would point it out on the way up, that is Castle Beach, which is just the other side of the peninsula from where I was just a couple of moments ago. Let's go through the archway. And straight ahead we have the museum and art gallery. Made it to the top of Castle Hill. Gotta say, if you're visiting Tenby, this is definitely the place to come for photographs. There are just incredible views everywhere you look up here, and I'll tell you about some of them in just a second, but the centerpiece is definitely that tower behind me. It is the leftovers from the fortifications built by the Normans back in the 12th century. Not much of the complex remains, but that tower is still standing here after all those hundreds of years. So what else can I see? Well, there is also a statue up here. It is a statue of Prince Albert, who was married to Queen Victoria, and Prince Albert died in 1861. The statue was erected in 1865 in his memory. Just down to my left is the lifeboat station and launching ramp. We have views across 2 beaches and the incredible colourful seafront buildings that overlook the water. They are definitely something to see. You'll also find Tenby Museum and Art Gallery, as well as plenty of these cannons dotted around the place. There's also 2 islands to look out for. St Catherine's Island is the closest one. It's a tidal island, meaning sometimes you can walk to it and sometimes you can't, depending on what the tide's doing. St Catherine's Fortress can be found on the island itself. It's a structure that was built in 1867, owing to fears of a French invasion along this coastline. The second island is a little further away. It's called Cowdy Island, and there are stalls set up in town that offer boat trips out to it and back again on the same day. It is said to be a very peaceful, relaxing island, great for walking, maybe a trip for another day. Right now though, I am going to head into that labyrinth of lanes and cobbled streets. We're going to try and get to that church, see some of the medieval walls and take a look around. Behind me now is the South Beach, so the 3rd beach here in Tenby, and it's another cracking one. You can see the yellow sand and blue sea behind me. It's quite nice as you're walking along the waterfront. There are lots and lots of benches and even these very exotic looking gardens with flowers and plants. Adds to the picturesque nature of the town. And I must say as well, if you're wondering why it's so quiet, there are 2 reasons. Number 1, it is a Sunday, and number 2, it is out of season. Just to my left now are the amazing medieval city walls, originally built in the 13th century to stop would-be invaders. They were improved in the 15th century, but sadly in the 18th century, a large part of the fortifications ended up being pulled down, removed and dismantled. There was originally thought to have been 24 towers in the wall network. There are now just 6 remaining. And there were originally 4 large, impressive city gates, and now only 1 of those remain. And there it is, the 5-arch gateway. And if you count the arches, you'll actually make 6. But that's because 1 of them belongs to the city wall itself. The barbican, that is the bit that protrudes from the main wall, was added in the 14th century to strengthen the defences of the gate itself. So I think what we're going to do is take a walk through the gate and see what's inside. Okay, let's do some exploring. How amazing is that? That harbour that I was walking around a little while back, just a couple of hours ago actually, is now a proper harbour again. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my walk around Tenby. Great place, enjoyed it a lot. Thanks for checking out my video. There's a car coming, better stand aside. But yeah, tomorrow I am driving the Pembrokeshire Coast, area of outstanding natural beauty. It's going to be a good one. Join me if you can. See you there. Oh, it's all uphill. My word. There we go, down the little slope here. Nearly there. There we go. Let's see. 1851. Oh boy, 1904. No ticket though. Lady Luck is on my side. Right, let's hit the road.